'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mooloolaba, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Mooloolaba, Birdsville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathrown, Proserpine, Ulladulla, Darwin, Gingin, Nilliquin, Muckdilla, Wallumbilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakilla. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts
Yes,
bare,
indeed.
man.
There is our friend Lucky Star, and he has been everywhere. I'm not sure that he's been to Narembeen in Western Australia.
I wouldn't have thought he'd go over there.
No, but I was going to play a song by Neil Diamond to introduce this person, but I thought I'd better stick with the Lucky Star. Why would I have chosen a Neil Diamond song, Robert?
Narembeen.
Because she's sweet.
Caroline, of course.
Good morning to you, Caroline. Oh, I've hit the wrong button there. What's going on there?
Stop.
Yeah, stop. Hello, Caroline. How are you going?
I'm good, Neil and Rob. How are you?
Doing very well. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
Caroline, good morning. Lovely to have you aboard. Like many of our regional roundup guests, out in the sticks, Australian farmers doing it tough out there. Are you in that little agricultural triangle that goes from Geraldton to Esperance and down to Albany? It's a wonderful area in Australia, and a huge amount of agricultural production comes out of there. Is that your little spot in there?
Yeah, we farm, so you just said Geraldton to Esperance, so if you go halfway between Geraldton and Esperance, you'll get to Narembeen, sort of the back end of Hyden, and we farm there, and we also farm 250 k's closer to Perth in York. So, yeah, two different farming locations for a bit of diversity.
And is the further out you get, I suppose, rainfall disappears a little bit. So you're on the edge of that triangle before it gets into what could only be described as the desert.
Desert. I think some people call our house where we live West Adelaide.
But the water's slightly nicer, so...
But yeah, it's the rainfall's slightly lower, but the cost of farming is different out where we are compared to, real high productive land near York and in that southwest.
You do realise now you're going to be referred in all future conversations as the Duchess of York.
Now, the farming enterprise, just a quick chat off air, it's about wheat, it's about meat, sheep meat, but more importantly, the one closest to my heart is the wool. Have you a favourite out of the three?
I love sheep. Absolutely love sheep. We do quite a bit of cropping, so we do hay, cereals, ceradella, canola, oats, so we've got quite a diverse program. And then we do sheep, wool and meat, and a bit of hay peppered in there around October to keep the year very busy.
So it's a little bit bizarre that of all the things you named, none of them are wheat, and yet the region within which you live is called the Wheat Belt.
The Wheat Belt, yes. We do wheat.
Oh, okay. But who doesn't, obviously?
No, who doesn't?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Just part of the many marvellous cropping rotations that are available to you to allow your land to continue to regenerate and be prosperous, because I think we're learning more and more that Australian farmers are very, very good environmentalists. And that's probably criticised a little bit, and also comes into the handling of animals. Now, we do live in a society where meat is very much part of the diet. So I know some people might be critical and say, oh, well, if you really love animals, why would you grow them to be slaughtered for? But it is part of the agricultural life at this stage, and it doesn't mean that while they're in your care, you don't treat them with absolute utter respect, and I'm sure you do that. Yeah,
we do, and they are, they're part of our business, but we look after them very well with plenty of feed, plenty of water. We have to keep them vaccinated and all sorts of things throughout the year and handle them well. And we've got really good shearing teams that come through. It is difficult when you load your lambs on a triple decker and you see them leave. It is difficult, and no one likes to do it, but they are a meat, so that's how you need to. That's protein for the world.
What about the wool part, which is the beautiful part? Is that something you really enjoy continuing to will grow more is the purpose, get more wool on the sheep, but also keep it to be a beautiful, usable fibre.
Yeah, we do, and it's really sad that the fact that we don't have a strong supply chain for wool, being in terms of coming from the sheep's back and then processed here in our state of Western Australia, or sometimes it does go to South Australia to get processed and turned into something. It's pretty bad. Some of our wool goes over to Asia to then get turned into clothing or
Yeah, we had a wool processing factory in Geelong here, which was just dismantled and taken to China and rebuilt over there. And I think they processed some ridiculous amount of 70 or 80% of the total world wool processing is in China. And it is sad that it used to be a big part of the Australian economy, the value adding on the way, but it just seems it leaves your farm, and unless you've got a niche market to hit with it, it just goes into the big abyss, sadly.
Yeah, it is sad like that, but there are some really fantastic niche, markets in clothing and, bedding and things like that are emerging for wool. And I'll never forget we visited one in South Australia, the mini jumbuck, where they turn wool into Manchester, quilts, all sorts of things, and that's locally supplied in all of the states of Australia. And it's fantastic. It provides jobs, and it's a good fibre to use and handle.
I think there's also a blanket factory in the Adelaide suburb of Onkaparinga.
Yeah, very, very famous
still
brand name in Australia, that one.
Now, Caroline, take the hat off that you are wearing at the moment, the one that is your farmer's hat, and put on a different hat that says that you are a director of an outfit called SEGRA. Now, SEGRA stands for?
Sustainable Economic Growth for Regional Australia.
So they seem like good words to put into an organisation name. What are the things that are currently standing in the road of good, sustainable economic growth in regional Australia?
Oh, geez. Lots of things, Neil.
And you've got 30 seconds. No, you don't. No.
I think the purpose of SEGRA is around advancing the regions. Mm-hmm. It's made up of the doers across Australia that get their hands dirty and do things in their communities to make their communities and local economies great. And I think a lot of our regions are still experiencing issues in telecommunications and access to it and good solid telco. Volunteering, just running out of people and the people to do those jobs that you need in the community. Housing, and that's across Australia. That's affordable and good quality housing to allow growth. And then, you've got a mixture of things like trying to attract people to the regions to keep us sustainable going forward. And not always having to. I was talking to someone the other day saying that I feel like in the country areas we're continually fighting just to get the basic infrastructure, basic health services, basic education, and access to education. So.
Well, I was talking to, we'll call her a prominent politician in your state during the week, as you would be aware. And one of the things we talked about, Rob, is the fact that people who live in Victoria, at worst, have got a 5-6 hour drive to a capital city. In Western Australia, you could drive for 5 or 6 hours and not see another town. And the infrastructure needs are the same, but just so much more challenging with a smaller population and therefore tax base and significantly bigger distances.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big geographical area. I think our Premier often says that our health system in Western Australia is one of the most geographically spread, but in the world, basically. So you've got hospitals, right up in the northwest down to the south, and primary and allied health across the board. And he talks about that a lot, that it's a very, very dispersed population over a massive land mass.
Yeah, I mean, there's the debate going on about GST distribution, but it's pretty obvious that you need some assistance in that area just because of that reason, because health's probably the most important issue for people in those far-flung places, because in the old days you just copped your whack, but I think we're a better society than that. And people who are living, working, and still remain highly productive in outback Western Australia should certainly expect the same medical assistance as anyone would get anywhere.
Yeah, and I think we've got a job in the regions to also talk about like how much we can contribute to the economy versus how many people we have in our town, and a lot of decision making gets based on population base rather than the production that you're creating. So it's a challenge. It's a really big challenge, but it's a great place to live, and I definitely wouldn't go anywhere else at this stage in my life with my children. It's a great place.
So if the grey nomads were looking for Narembeen and they were coming across the Great Eastern Highway, they've driven through Kalgoorlie, what happens next?
Driven through Kalgoorlie, turn left at Merredin, the regional centre, and head south.
Mm-hmm.
And come and see our. We've got great granite outcrops. We have a grain discovery centre that shows the story of grain. We've got a really lovely cafe that's run by our community. It's just a nice place to stop and then explore the rest of the region.
And for those who are Beach Boys fans who know the song Surfing USA, they talk about Narembeen. It's not that one. There's no surf at Narembeen.
No, that's right.
There's a wave rock not far away.
Wave rock is not very far away.
But that doesn't move very fast, I've led to believe.
No. And of course, too, Neil, the wildflowers.
Of course. At what sort of October-ish? Is that about right?
Yeah, August, September, October is beautiful. Absolutely
nice.
Beautiful.
Well, Caroline, before we go, you better give a plug to that podcast that I know Segra does, because people might recognise one of the voices on it.
Yeah. So if you want to listen to anything that's happening in the regions, it's called Segra Talks, and the lovely Neil has conversations with plenty of people across the country, and it's good to listen to when you're in the car.
Yeah, I don't listen to it very often, I've got to say, for obvious reasons. Having heard the conversation already, I don't need to hear it a second time. But no, it's great to have an opportunity to chat, and Segra, S-E-G-R-A, talks, as in, chats. So thanks for joining us and telling us a bit about Narembeen and your part of the world, Caroline, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Caroline Robinson there, director of Segra, but also a resident of WA in a place called Narembeen.